powered by Moksha Media.
Hello everyone, this is Stan the Real Estate Man, Managing Partner at AgentsDFW.
And this is Daymond, the closer, broker, and realtor with AgentsDFW.
And this is Real Tips.
Brought to you by AgentsDFW.com, a brand of trust and integrity.
And as always, we're customizing your real estate needs.
That's right. Hello and welcome to another episode of AgentsDFW Real Tips, brought to you by me, Daymond the Closer, and
Stan the Real Estate Man.
So Stan, we've been going strong now with Real Tips. What do you think about that?
I think we've been doing an excellent job just trying to get the facts out there and the tips out there to the clients that they need.
I agree. You know, I wanted to start off this episode a little bit different because, you know, I'm really just coming to the realization that we're doing exactly what I envisioned that we would be doing with AgentsDFW. You know, I'm really dedicated to just helping out people. You know, I wanted AgentsDFW to be more than just a real estate firm. You know, like it goes unsaid, we're two black guys with a real estate firm. So we, you know, it's just natural for us to be driven to do, you know, to do things that are in the interest of you know, the minorities, and, you know, doing things in real estate that really bring attention to bringing awareness to the community.
Yes, you know I mean? Yeah, more like a resource. Well, I don't say more like, but also a resource. Giving information that people may or may not know or aren't able to find out, or someone that's not willing to share it with them. But we are that source for them.
Yeah, I mean, like we said in the last episode, you know, real estate is getting more and more expensive.
Competitive.
It's very competitive. There's a lot of big business now, you know, coming in, swooping in on real estate. So I feel like we kind of have to be a balance to that. You know what I mean?
The middle person, also advisors, and also getting you 10 years ahead of the game, because that's what corporations normally do. They are normally thinking 10 years projection, 20-year projection. So as an individual, you have to think that way as well. Even if you're just an individual owning an individual property, you still have to think 10 years from now, what will I do with this property, or what could I do with it? So
that's where we come in.
Yeah.
So on this episode of Real Tips, I thought that it would be great if we focus on something that a lot of people are interested in, and that's real estate investing. So I thought we would discuss some creative real estate investment ideas.
Okay. All
right. So I'll just jump right in. And why don't, when we discuss these topics, we also cover, you know, the risk or lack thereof of some of these topics, because everybody wants to do real estate investing, but here's the bottom line. There are multiple ways to do creative real estate investing, and the average person really can only handle maybe one or two at the time.
Exactly.
So as we go through the list, what we're going to be discussing with you, you know, are the characteristics of these different types of creative real estate ideas, and then how risky they are when you get involved with them. So here's the first one: buy and hold. Buy and hold. So I think a lot of people actually do buy and hold, even if they don't term it that way. For instance, when you buy a home, the average home you buy and you live in, you are buying and holding that property. But you can also become creative with it. You may get comfortable in a home that you own, and then you can now invest in another property. And there's not that much risk involved with the buy and hold philosophy, right? If you do adequate research.
Yes. You have to do adequate research into what the market is doing. And make sure that you're moving into a home that could potentially be profitable, or you should always think that it's a profitable thing that I own this house, from a tax standpoint and, you know, just a standpoint of owning real estate.
Absolutely. And the key is making sure you don't overspend. And that's why I say this is your least risky avenue of doing some creative real estate investing. Because if you buy a property at market value, or you can even work with your real estate agent to strike a really good deal and buy just below market value, which would be really good. The idea is that real estate increases in value over time anyway. So it's not that much of a risk factor involved. The only time you really encounter a bad real estate deal is more or less if you have a bad real estate agent.
Or if you just didn't do your due diligence.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you didn't do your due diligence, and you have to hold your real estate agents, to a standard, and they should hold you to a standard of understanding.
Absolutely.
What you're possibly getting into.
Yeah, so those are things like making sure that you get a very good inspection, making sure that you understand the neighborhood and what is the forecast for the neighborhood. Do you see the neighborhood going down, becoming dilapidated over the next 5 to 10 years, or do you actually see infrastructure developing around the region and therefore an increase in your real estate value over time? So
Yes.
that's the idea.
Yeah. Although, no one has a crystal ball. We don't know what tomorrow will bring, but there are some forecasting that you can do with a good market analysis and the trend of what's been trending in that neighborhood, in that area. So
Absolutely, and we actually have some experience.
yes.
So like the first real estate deal that we did, and I know we didn't quite see the real estate the same way, but I saw the trend happening, and it was a deal that actually was really good in our favor. So, and that's what we did. We went into the neighborhood. The neighborhood looked very, very solid. It was close to, schools. There wasn't a lot of bad things happening in the neighborhood. So we knew that the value of the real estate would increase over time, especially since the infrastructure was developing. Like retail moved into the area, and so it just really built up the infrastructure. Those are the types of things that you need to look into when you buy and hold. So that brings us to the next topic. All right. So seek an offer. Now, this is a little more of an aggressive, creative, investment idea. And here's the deal. Whereas if you buy and hold a property, you're working with your real estate agent, and your real estate agent can go out and, look in MLS and do some research for you. With seek and offer, you actually go out and go into the neighborhoods and look for properties that aren't necessarily listed. So that means you may be doing some door-to-door knocking. And you still would probably work with a real estate agent. You would get some ideas and know where trends are going for a specific area, but you would be more or less looking for properties that aren't even listed yet. So you can actually solicit potential sellers of real estate that you are interested in. So once you do that research and you maybe find a seller who is looking into selling their property, you ask them if they are willing to accept the dollar value that you have in mind. Now that's a little more aggressive, and sometimes you can't really do an aggressive analysis or research in the area. You really just have to rely on external data, like what you're getting, in the news, or maybe you're going on different, neighborhood websites and kind of looking at what's happening in the area. But you're doing that kind of research, and that's why I say it's a little more aggressive and slightly more risky. Not too risky because you will have done your research in the area, but it's more risky than buying and holding.
Yes, and it's also the fact that the property isn't listed, so the seller may or may not. But that's basically the trend. If you think about it, the companies that are now saying we'll give you fair offer, price for your house, we'll pay it off, and then what they're looking at is what equity is in that house. So when you get those solicitations, that's basically the same thing that you could do as an individual. Say, well, I'm gonna go out and solicit I may have a little cash, I got a line of credit, so I'm going to go out and see if I can make the same type of offers that companies are doing. So large corporations were doing it, but now individuals are doing it. You hear it on the radio. So that is basically you're seeking and you're making an offer. Same thing that any solicitor would do.
Yeah, and typically, let's not forget with the seek and offer technique, you more or less have to have more cash on hand. And that's really what ends up being the lure for a potential seller to sell to you, because they're relying on you coming to them with a really solid offer, typically with cash on hand, and then you're making a cash deal for that seek and offer creative investment technique.
Yes, and also the fact that you can close with outside of the typical 30, 45 days. I can close in 15 days, I can close in a week, just to make sure that, if title company said everything is clear.
Yeah.
So with that cash offer, then you more likely will get an opportunity to purchase that property.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's it for the second creative investment idea. Now we're going to move on to the third one, and that's going to be land purchase and development. Now, this can be a risky technique as well, but you'll end up saving on the front end. And I do mean the front end because you're just going in buying undeveloped land, basically unimproved land. So obviously, you're spending a lot less money up front. But there's a lot of work, a lot of subsequent work, because you're actually going to be the one developing the land. You're going to be improving the land. And yes, it can be risky, but again, we encourage you to work with us, like work with real estate agents, because what we're going to do is we're going to actually go in and research the land that you are seeking to purchase. It may have been land that was, owned by a previous owner, and there may have been some zoning things that may have happened, or maybe it's land that's near a developing neighborhood, or maybe it's land that's even in a subdivision being developed by a builder. Either way, it's still going to be an investment. And it can be creative or traditional. It's going to be traditional if you're going in buying land that's associated with a neighborhood, right? Because that's typically the way that kind of a deal starts. You have a builder, the builder has moved in, the builder has a vision for the types of houses that are going to go in the region. So that's very traditional. But with the creative, unimproved land investment idea, you're really looking for maybe obscure pieces of land that you, as the potential buyer, have a vision for. A vision that may be even very different than what's already in the region.
Yeah, and also I was just reading an article last night. The city of Dallas is, they're putting up additional 4 more parks. So typically when you see a park and the city is developing, you can basically tell if there's available land, do your research and then just try to go out and get as much of it as you can.
Yeah.
That is something that we've experienced as well. So, buying property and then wondering, okay, all this property is clear, but there's no one moving in or building, because they're waiting on the progression of the city.
Yeah.
So when Daymond is talking about land purchase and development, that's what you're basically doing. You're getting that land, you may develop something that you want to build, stay in it for a while, then grow equity into it and then move, or you just want to, that is your next stop to just say, okay, I'm going to retire here. I'm just going to sit here on this property because I know I own it, and then it's going to build equity. It's just going to grow in it. The area is developing.
Absolutely. But again, that is more risky than the first two options, especially depending on where you are in the creative scale with your purchase of an improved property. So, and the reason why it's so risky is because you're actually going in and you have to put on more or less a project management hat. You have to prepare for the amount of time that you're gonna invest in a deal like that. You have to prepare for the financial changes you're going to make to actually do the type of improvements that you want to do for that type of a deal. So it's more risky, but it's well worth it. Land is never going to decrease in value, and typically, if you like us, you want to go into an area and you kind of want to have some influence over the area that you are moving in, especially if you have that type of an opportunity to actually improve a piece of property.
Okay.
Yep. So that brings us to the next topic, non-traditional flipping. So everybody these days want to flip, right? But nowadays it is so competitive until you have to think of some really creative ways to flip property. And so the answer to being creative with flipping property is actually the first three options that I just gave you.
Yep.
So, and the reason why I want this to be very well understood by you as a viewer of this video is because we often get people approaching us saying, well, you know, I want a foreclosure. I want a property in this price range, and then we're looking at the price range that they gave us and we're like, well, this is dated by about a good 10 years. And the type of deals that you're now looking for, they no longer exist in the market of today in DFW because there have been major changes and there is a lot of competition, especially when it comes to comparing you as an individual with a company who also has a well-established portfolio flipping property. So now you have to work with us and think of creative ways to flip property. And I don't even want to give you the false impression that any of the creative ways to flip property, you know, any of those are easy, because they're not. But that's where we come in and actually help you develop a strategic plan for creatively flipping property. So whether that's a unimproved piece of land, or you want to work with us to go into a neighborhood and actually solicit an offer, you know, to potential sellers, or maybe you want to even buy and hold. So now you're approaching us to do some research for you. That's perfectly fine. Just keep in mind that those are more of the creative options that are now available to you. And it's our job to help you understand the amount of risk that's involved and the amount of work that's involved with those creative flipping options.
Work is the key word.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of work into it. Don't be discouraged about it.
Yeah.
But, you know, you have to think about, you know, I'm going to set some time aside to, you know, work on this project. I have someone helping me. I have agents that are working with me. We're walking through it. We're talking through it. But it can be a very good outcome for you. So.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, and it's like the old saying goes, you know, nothing worth getting is going to be easy, because if it were easy, everybody would be doing it.
Exactly.
If it were easy, everybody would have that great and fantastic deal, you know, right there at their fingertips working it, and you wouldn't even have the opportunity. So it's not going to be easy, but the key is working with professionals like us, with AgentsDFW, to help you reach your level of success when it comes to creative real estate investing. So that brings us to the last option when it comes to creative real estate ideas, that at least the last option that we want to propose to you here during this episode of Real Tips. And that is investing through a real estate investment team. And there are a multitude of options there. Either you can form your own real estate investment team. You know, you get together with a group of friends, you all structure the real estate investment team. Either you do it formally or informally, meaning that you come up with an actual firm, you come up with the LLC, or maybe you just all go in as individuals. Now, if you go in as individuals, keep in mind you want that team to be really small. If you have a bigger real estate team and it's not like a full-up corporation, but you probably have a board of like 5 to 10 members, then you do want to formally structure that REIT, and that's perfectly fine. So you get that team together, you figure out what deals you're going to actually start your portfolio off with, and then you establish your business rhythm for your real estate investment team. So
yeah, I think it's always good to keep in mind that, you know, partnering with someone else to get it done is a great idea.
Yeah.
I know some friends in Houston who have done that, started out small, then they start partnering with other individuals. You still have a stake in the game, so that's important to know that, hey, I got $5,000. I'm going to work with 5 other people, $25,000. We're going to get this project started. So always think that, hey, it's not about trying to be selfish and hold on to everything that you can, but it's also about partnering, working with other individuals who may have a little more experience in the game, and then you can just start working that way, and then probably even venture out and to get your own team started. But
Absolutely.
You know, partnering is key.
And that's a good way to mitigate risk, because with the smaller REITs, especially if you're a newly starting team, there is a lot of risk involved. So again, remember we mentioned that we were going to mention risk that are involved with these real estate options. So the risk involved there is that, like you were mentioning earlier, Stan, it's the partnering. You're gonna have some ramp up time where you figure out team dynamics, but there is a way to mitigate that risk as well, especially when it comes to seeking out REITs. Now you can actually go online and research corporations that actually allow for you to sign up for options to invest in real estate deals, and you do it through the convenience of internet investing.
Yeah, it's almost like I work for the Treasury Department. It's almost like buying a bond to help build a bridge. It's the same thing. Basically, you're buying into a project, and then it will pay off, and you say, okay, well, I've made my money, I understand the deal. Once the deal closes, this is what I'm going to get from it. So it's the same thing like, real estate investment teams. From a legal standpoint, you probably want to make sure that the paperwork is legal, that what you're signing, to make sure that you're not caught up in a bad deal. That an attorney probably has looked at it and prepared the documents for you.
Yeah, and it's a lot less risky, but the revenues generated from that type of a deal typically are a lot smaller, unless you find a company where you can go in and then make a huge investment up front, and we don't recommend that, because you want to research whatever company it is that you actually go out and invest in properties with.
Yes.
So you probably want to start small. So again, the risk is a lot less, but also your revenues generated will be a lot less as well. So I hope this video helps. I really wanted this to be a topic of discussion on Real Tips, because this is the type of topic that really helps you as the consumer, those who are the end beneficiaries of our services. And we are a brand of trust
and integrity.
So we believe that it is our job to actually offer you information like this. So that's it for this episode of Real Tips. Please, by all means, go to our website, AgentsDFW, to find out more about how we can help you, whether you are selling real estate, buying real estate, leasing, investing, the works. Just reach out to us. You can actually email me personally at daymond.realestate@gmail.com or
stanrealtor06@gmail.com.
Absolutely. Or just, like I said, go to the website, AgentsDFW.com, and there are options for you to get in contact with us there. And we are on social media. So that would be AgentsDFW on Facebook, AgentsDFW on Twitter, AgentsDFW on Instagram. We're available. So just anytime you need anything, just please, by all means, reach out to us, and we are customizing
your real estate
needs. Until next time.
Have a good evening.